Have you ever wondered how far someone might go to achieve fame and recognition? Imagine meeting someone who seems charming, ambitious, even fascinating, only to discover they're hiding a darkness so profound it defies comprehension. Could you have seen the warning signs, or would they have remained hidden beneath a carefully crafted facade? Today, we delve into the tragic intersection of two lives: Jun Lin, a kind-hearted man with dreams of a better future, and Luka Magnotta, a man consumed by his desperate pursuit of notoriety. What began as a chance meeting spiraled into a chilling act of violence that would shock the world. Houseville, true crime involving family. Every family has secrets, any family can cross the line. Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome to Houseville, where we explore the haunting stories of family bonds and human connections turned tragic. Tonight, we uncover the heartbreaking story of Jun Lin and Luka Magnotta, a tale of innocence stolen and ambition turned deadly. Together, we'll navigate through their lives, the choices that led to their fateful encounter, and the devastating aftermath that left a global audience horrified and grieving. To understand the tragedy that unfolded between Jun Lin and Luka Magnotta, we must first examine the complex personalities and circumstances that brought their lives together. Jun Lin, born on December 30th, 1978, in Wuhan, China, was a man who exuded warmth and determination. Growing up in a modest household, Jun displayed an early aptitude for academics and technology. His family was immensely proud of his achievements, seeing him as a beacon of hope for a brighter future. In 2010, Jun made the life-changing decision to move to Canada, leaving behind his close-knit family to pursue a degree in computer engineering at Concordia University in Montreal. For Jun, Canada represented opportunity, a place where he could explore his academic ambitions and personal identity. By 2012, he had established himself as a diligent student, working part-time at a convenience store in Point St. Charles to support himself financially. Colleagues and classmates described Jun as kind-hearted, dependable, and someone who embraced life with an open mind. He was well-liked in his community, always offering a helping hand and engaging warmly with those around him. Yet beneath this cheerful exterior, Jun faced personal struggles that added complexity to his journey. As a gay man, Jun had not yet come out to his family, adhering to traditional cultural expectations that often stigmatized homosexuality. This duality weighed heavily on him. While he found solace and acceptance within the LGBTQ community in Canada, he lived with the silent burden of keeping his true self hidden from those he loved most. This internal conflict shaped his life in Canada, influencing his relationships and the choices he made as he navigated his new environment. Enter Luka Magnotta, born Eric Newman on July 24, 1982, in Scarborough, Ontario. Magnotta's early life stood in stark contrast to Jun's. Raised in a tumultuous household marked by neglect and instability, Luka faced significant challenges from a young age. He later changed his name, a move that seemed to symbolize his desire to reinvent himself and escape his troubled past. Magnotta aspired to fame and recognition, but his means of achieving these goals were unconventional and, at times, disturbing. He worked briefly as a model and adult film actor, though his career failed to gain traction. Frustrated by his lack of mainstream success, Magnotta turned to the internet, meticulously crafting an online persona that combined allure, mystery, and controversy. He created dozens of social media profiles, each presenting a curated version of himself: handsome, successful, and intriguing. However, Magnotta's desire for fame veered into darker territories. In 2010, he gained infamy when animal rights groups accused him of posting videos depicting the torture and killing of kittens. These videos sparked outrage worldwide, with online communities launching efforts to identify and stop him. Magnotta's response was chilling. He seemed to revel in the attention, taunting his detractors and denying responsibility despite mounting evidence. This pattern of behavior revealed a man deeply driven by a need for notoriety, no matter the cost. Magnotta craved attention and validation, and when conventional avenues failed, he turned to shock and provocation. By 2012, his online presence was vast, and his name was already associated with cruelty and controversy in the shadows of the internet. When Luka Magnotta and Jun Lin crossed paths, it was through an online platform, one of many that Magnotta frequented in search of connections, validation, or, as would later become apparent, victims. For Jun, this meeting was likely just another step in his exploration of life in Canada, a chance to connect with someone new. For Magnotta, however, it was an opportunity to enact a chilling plan that had been months, if not years, in the making. Their meeting set the stage for an unspeakable act of violence, one that would leave a trail of grief, horror, and unanswered questions. The tragic collision of these two lives was shaped not only by their individual struggles, but also by the dangerous intersection of innocence and a deeply disturbed mind. In May 2012, the lives of Jun Lin and Luka Magnotta collided in a way that would forever alter the lives of many and leave an indelible scar on society. Their meeting, initiated through an online platform, was likely unremarkable at first glance, just another connection in the vast web of internet interactions. For Jun Lin, it was presumably an ordinary encounter, an opportunity to meet someone new and enjoy a fleeting moment of companionship. However, for Luka Magnotta, this meeting was anything but ordinary. It was the culmination of his long-harbored desire for attention and notoriety through an act of unparalleled cruelty. On May 24, 2012, Jun Lin entered Magnotta's modest apartment in Montreal, unaware that his life was about to take a horrific turn. The exact details leading up to the events remain speculative, but what is known is that sometime during the night or early morning of May 25th, Magnotta enacted a gruesome and premeditated plan. The crime that unfolded in that small apartment defied comprehension. Magnotta, who had been obsessed with shock and spectacle, filmed the entire event, a calculated move to ensure that his actions would be seen and remembered. In the video, which he later uploaded online under the title "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick," Magnotta is seen brutally murdering Jun Lin. The weapon used, an ice pick, became emblematic of the crime's sheer brutality. But the horror didn't stop with the act itself. After taking Jun's life, Magnotta dismembered his body with chilling precision, treating the remains as props in his macabre performance. His actions were methodical and disturbingly detached, suggesting a premeditated intent to both dehumanize his victim and amplify the shock value of his crime. Magnotta's actions escalated further when he mailed Jun's severed hands and feet to various locations across Canada, including prominent political offices in Ottawa and elementary schools in Vancouver. These parcels, containing handwritten notes soaked in blood, were designed to incite fear and capture maximum media attention. One of the packages was addressed to the Conservative Party of Canada, sparking immediate security concerns. Inside were grim warnings indicating that Magnotta's actions were far from impulsive. They were part of a carefully orchestrated plan to terrorize and gain notoriety. The discovery of Jun Lin's torso in a suitcase behind Magnotta's apartment added another layer of horror. Residents of the building had complained about a foul smell emanating from the alley, leading authorities to the gruesome find. The scene was horrific, with clear evidence that the crime had been committed with both planning and malice. As the investigation unfolded, the video of the murder, which had circulated on obscure corners of the internet, became a crucial piece of evidence. The footage shocked those who saw it, with its graphic nature leaving even seasoned investigators deeply disturbed. Magnotta's actions were no longer the work of a man merely seeking attention. They revealed a deeply disturbed individual who had meticulously planned a spectacle of violence. The connection between Jun Lin and Luka Magnotta remained a puzzle. While the two had met through an online platform, their interactions prior to the crime were minimal, suggesting that Magnotta had likely chosen Jun as a victim, not for personal reasons, but as part of his twisted need to enact his fantasies of cruelty and infamy. As news of the crime spread, an international manhunt for Luka Magnotta began. Authorities identified him as the perpetrator quickly, thanks to surveillance footage and evidence left at the crime scene, but Magnotta had already fled. He boarded a flight to Paris on May 26th, blending into the crowd as if nothing had happened. His escape added another layer of complexity to the case, as law enforcement agencies across the world were now tasked with tracking a man whose notoriety was spreading as rapidly as his crimes. For Jun Lin's friends and family, the events were incomprehensible. Jun had been a kind and unassuming man, someone who had come to Canada with dreams of a better future. The sheer brutality of his death, coupled with the public and sensationalized nature of the crime, deepened the pain of those who loved him. Meanwhile, Luka Magnotta reveled in the infamy he had cultivated. In Paris, he visited tourist spots and cybercafes, keeping a low profile while continuing to follow news coverage of his crime. However, his sense of invincibility was short-lived. Magnotta's behavior, consistent with someone who craved recognition, made it difficult for him to stay completely hidden. On June 4, 2012, he was apprehended in Berlin at an internet cafe while reading news about himself. The events that transpired in May 2012 were not merely the actions of a disturbed individual, but a calculated attempt to blend performance with brutality. Magnotta's crime was designed to shock, horrify, and ensure that his name would be etched into history. Tragically, Jun Lin's life and legacy became overshadowed by the spectacle Magnotta sought to create, leaving a trail of grief, outrage, and unanswered questions in its wake. The turning point in this chilling case came on May 29, 2012, when a suitcase was discovered behind Luka Magnotta's Montreal apartment. The foul odor emanating from it had drawn complaints from residents, leading the building's caretaker to investigate. Inside, police found the torso of Jun Lin wrapped in blood-soaked sheets. The discovery of the suitcase, along with other evidence from the crime scene, left no doubt that a heinous act had taken place. However, what unfolded next turned this local tragedy into a case of international infamy. As investigators pieced together the evidence, Luka Magnotta had already vanished. Surveillance footage showed him calmly leaving his apartment building with garbage bags in hand, which he disposed of in a nearby alley. It was soon revealed that Magnotta had boarded a flight to Paris on May 26th, just hours after committing the crime. The calmness with which he executed his escape underscored his cold and calculating nature. The search for Magnotta became a global effort. Back in Montreal, police found more horrifying evidence in his apartment, including the tools used to dismember Jun Lin's body. At the same time, 2 parcels containing Jun's severed body parts, his left foot and left hand, arrived at their destinations. One package sent to the Conservative Party of Canada headquarters in Ottawa caused an immediate security lockdown. The other, intended for a school in Vancouver, raised alarms when intercepted. The handwritten notes accompanying these gruesome deliveries were cryptic and taunting, further demonstrating Magnotta's desire to terrorize and manipulate public attention. Magnotta's choice of Paris for his initial escape was deliberate. Known for its bustling streets and international visitors, the city offered anonymity in plain sight. French authorities later discovered that he had checked into a hotel in Bagnolet, a suburb of Paris, but had already moved on by the time they arrived. Magnotta left a trail of evidence behind, including personal items and photographs. Despite his attempts to stay ahead of the law, his erratic behavior and need for recognition made him vulnerable. From Paris, Magnotta traveled across Europe, using various aliases and switching accommodations frequently. His movements were anything but subtle. He was spotted in bars and cyber cafes, often logging into social media to follow news coverage of his crime. This fixation on his own notoriety became his undoing. On June 4, 2012, Luka Magnotta's run came to an end in Berlin, Germany. He had entered an internet cafe in the Neukölln district, seemingly unaware of the heightened international attention his case had drawn. The cafe owner, who recognized Magnotta from news reports, discreetly contacted the police while Magnotta browsed the internet. Ironically, he was reading articles about his own crime and the ongoing manhunt at the time of his arrest. When German authorities arrived, Magnotta offered little resistance. His capture was both anticlimactic and deeply symbolic. Here was a man who had gone to extraordinary lengths to construct a persona of infamy, yet his downfall occurred in the most mundane of settings. The arrest was a relief to authorities and the public, but for Jun Lin's family, it marked the beginning of a long and painful journey for justice. The climax of this case, the discovery of Jun Lin's remains, Magnotta's taunting behavior, and his subsequent capture, exposed the calculated nature of his actions. It was clear that Magnotta's crime was not merely an impulsive act of violence, but a meticulously orchestrated performance designed to shock, horrify, and demand attention. His arrest brought a sense of closure to the international manhunt, but it could never undo the devastating impact of his actions on Jun Lin's family, friends, and the larger community. The trial that followed Luka Magnotta's capture was a media spectacle of unprecedented proportions. The case attracted international attention, not only because of the heinous nature of the crime, but because of Magnotta's peculiar and disturbing character. Throughout the proceedings, Magnotta's defense team attempted to argue that he was suffering from severe mental illness, attempting to frame his actions as the result of an uncontrollable psychiatric disorder. They pointed to his history of erratic behavior, online trolling, and his obsession with fame as evidence of his disturbed state of mind. However, despite these arguments, the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder in December 2014. The conviction came with a life sentence, and Magnotta was ordered to serve a minimum of 25 years before being eligible for parole. Magnotta's trial served as a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking behind the facade of online personas and the lengths some individuals might go to achieve fame. It also highlighted the disturbing nature of his crime, an act that wasn't just about murder, but about using violence as a tool to gain notoriety. His actions exposed the dark side of modern celebrity culture, where shock value and infamy are pursued with reckless abandon. And for Jun Lin's family, the aftermath of the trial was nothing short of devastating. In the months and years following his death, his family, who had originally been unaware of Jun's sexual orientation, was thrust into the media spotlight. They were left to process not only the loss of their beloved son and brother, but also the unimaginable nature of the crime. Jun had moved to Canada with hopes of building a future far from the traditional expectations of his family in China. His untimely and brutal death shattered the lives of those closest to him. The public's invasive attention only added to the trauma, as the Lin family was forced to relive the details of Jun's death in the media. The grief and shock felt by Jun's family were compounded by the knowledge that they would never truly understand why he had been chosen as the victim of such a senseless act of cruelty. They had to come to terms not only with their loss, but with the fact that Jun had kept parts of his life hidden from them, his struggles with his identity and the pressures he faced as a gay man in a traditional family. Their mourning process was tainted by this painful realization, further deepening the rift between them and the man Jun had become in his pursuit of his own dreams and acceptance. In Montreal, the LGBTQ community mourned Jun's tragic death as the loss of one of their own, a promising young man whose life was violently taken at the hands of someone seeking attention at all costs. Jun Lin's death became a rallying point for discussions about the vulnerability of international students, the exploitation that can occur in online spaces, and the consequences of societal isolation. It also sparked conversations about the need for greater acceptance and understanding, particularly within communities where identity, especially sexual orientation, might still be viewed as taboo or uncomfortable. This case also shone a light on the dangerous intersection between online interactions and real-world consequences. It raised the question of how much people truly know about the individuals they encounter in digital spaces, and how easily those interactions can spiral into tragic outcomes. Jun's story serves as a cautionary tale for those who might naively believe that the online world is a safe space, reminding us all that there can be real-world consequences to online actions, whether they be malicious or manipulative. The international search for Luka Magnotta highlighted the growing concerns over the ease with which someone like him could evade authorities by exploiting the global nature of travel and communication. Despite the clear path of evidence Magnotta left in his wake, his ability to slip through borders and evade capture for a short time exposed flaws in the way international law enforcement collaborates on complex criminal cases. Years after Magnotta's conviction, Jun Lin's family continues to honor his memory. In Montreal, friends and loved ones gather in remembrance of Jun, holding vigils and charity events to support causes close to his heart, including LGBTQ rights and mental health awareness. The community's ongoing support for Jun's family, though unable to undo the horrors they've endured, serves as a tribute to the life that was tragically cut short. For Magnotta, life in prison continues as a symbol of his ultimate failure to achieve the infamy he so desperately sought. In the end, he is remembered not as a notorious celebrity, but as a criminal whose pursuit of notoriety led to the death of an innocent young man. His name will forever be tied to an act of unspeakable violence, a stark reminder of how obsession, cruelty, and fame can intersect in the most tragic of ways. Jun Lin's story remains a profound loss, one that continues to resonate in the hearts of those who knew him and the communities that mourned his death. His life, full of promise, dreams, and the search for belonging, was stolen far too soon, leaving behind not just a crime scene, but a legacy of pain, reflection, and the importance of empathy and understanding an increasingly disconnected world. As we reflect on this harrowing tale, we honor Jun Lin's memory by acknowledging the complexities of his life and the senselessness of his death. His story is a testament to the importance of compassion, understanding, and the need to remain vigilant against those who seek to harm others for their own gain. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Your thoughts mean so much to me, so please share them in the comments below. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to subscribe to Houseful for more stories that reveal the dark truths behind family bonds. I appreciate you joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.